So, I wanted to welcome you all to today's online workshop that we're holding. It's the last in the series for Neurodiversity Week. We have really tried to hit every form, let's say, every part or as many parts of neurodiversity as we could include for Neurodiversity Week. So we did something for our neurodivergents. We gave an overview about what neurodiversity is in the workplace. We even yesterday held a successful seminar for mental health professionals, so that they can start to understand, so that they can start to help neurodivergent people better after they get diagnosed, because you know, the harsh truth is that there are a number of mental health professionals that once they diagnose someone, they give them medication and there isn't much hand holding, so to speak. Obviously, this is not society does not expect the workplace to pick up on this and to just guide people accordingly. But there are certain things that one can implement, because at the end of the day, I will always go back to a very particular saying, which goes, I need to find it quickly, which I will, but because of the joys of my ADHD, I tend to forget these things, unfortunately. So basically, it's a quote by Harvey Bloom, who had written in The Atlantic back in 1998, where he said, "Neurodiversity may be every bit as crucial for the human race as biodiversity is for life in general. Who can say what form of wiring will prove best at any given moment?" I believe that this is very, very, very important. At the end of the day, let's not forget that even neurodivergents have, proven to really help us out in this world. So we look at people like Albert Einstein, who was actually dyslexic, and also had autism, as far as I know. Look what he did. So, and this was years and years ago. So basically, as we embark on this journey that we're going to embark on together, our goal here is to foster a deeper understanding, to foster a deeper understanding of neurodiversity and its essential role in the rich tapestry of workplace diversity. Crucial, obviously, for innovation and growth. We'll also be engaging in some collaborative exchange of best practices, tools, and learning from one another, how to support our neurodivergent colleagues effectively, and ultimately drive inclusive change. And lastly, then we're going to dive into why diversity and inclusion are not just HR buzzwords, but they are actually the foundation of a dynamic and innovative workplace. And by bringing together a multitude of perspectives and strengths, we get to create an environment where all talents thrive, So without further ado, let's get started on this, transformative path that we are going to take. And let's start with what is neurodiversity? So, neurodiversity recognizes the values and the diverse mental landscapes and abilities in our workforce that drive innovation through unique perspectives. And if I may, I'm actually going to bring up a poll to start off with. What it is. So where I'm asking you, which of the initiatives below your organization may have in place? If any, please select. But basically, what are we saying here? So let's consider some real life applications, and let's look at how neurodiversity can be a powerhouse for innovation. So if you take JP Morgan, for example, they have actually embraced the strengths of neurodiverse individuals, and they have observed remarkable gains in productivity, particularly in technology roles. Now, highlighter moment. I'm not saying all neurodivergent are amazing at tech. It has been shown that yes, a number of neurodivergent people are very much into tech and into tech roles. They had seen a rise of neurodivergent individuals moving, to Silicon Valley and starting up their own companies. Look at Facebook, for example. Mark Zuckerberg is actually neurodivergent himself. But what this underscores is that the mutual benefits of such inclusion for the individuals and the collective successes of the company, basically, is shown. And let's use these insights to fuel our discussion and consider how we can integrate these practices into our organizations. And I wanted to now talk a bit about assessing our current environment, talking a bit about workplace policy assessment. So it is critical to understand the landscape in which that we operate. So through policy review, it will help us identify how our hiring, our training, and accommodation policies align with inclusivity goals. Culture checks and employee feedback are invaluable to this process, revealing how well, our workplace culture supports neurodiversity and where we can improve. Action plans derived from these assessments can fill gaps, ensuring that our strategies remain responsive and relevant. And as we know, this is not, a one-time effort, but rather a continuous journey of improvement. So regularly, policy updates and training will help sustain and advance neurodiversity support, making inclusivity a living aspect in our organizational culture. And I will give you a slight example here. One example of neurodiversity are people who are autistic. Now the autism spectrum has increased a lot. And now we don't even talk anymore about high functioning, low functioning. Those are actually offensive words to autistic people themselves. They have come out to speak and they have said, hey, look, this is offensive to us. Please, let's change the language. And the language has been changed. But they are starting to be able to gather groups of autistic people and actually start to dive further into the condition it and label it further. Labeling it further, not to put a label, you know, to say, oi, that person is like that. That person is autistic with a PDA profile, which is pathological demand avoidance, which is the autism profile that I happen to have. But it goes, and this has only been discovered in the last 4 or 5 years. So it goes to show that basically neurodiversity and information and knowledge about neurodiversity is growing. So we need to make sure we keep up with the times. Now, assessing your current environment for neurodiversity is not just about compliance. It is about going beyond to create that culture where neurodivergent individuals are valued. And let's take an example with SAP's Autism Work Program. So it began by assessing SAP's work processes and environments from an autism perspective. What did they do? They adapted their HR processes to become more inclusive. Ultimately, this led to increased innovation and productivity. Similarly, Microsoft Neurodiversity Initiative started with internal evaluations. And this led to adjustments in their recruitment and onboarding processes, recognizing the unique strengths that neurodivergent individuals bring to the team. Basically, these real-life examples should continue to highlight that assessment is the first step towards meaningful change. And now I wanted to talk a bit about key concepts and key concepts of neuroinclusive policies. So, actually, if I can, I would like to bring up the poll. Perfect. So as we dive into the core of neuroinclusive policies, let us uncover the foundational elements that can transform a workplace, starting off with flexibility. So what are we saying here? We are saying that it is crucial to adapt work schedules, tasks, and environments to each individual's unique way of working. Consider how basically we can reframe traditional roles to harness the full potential of neurodivergent talents. Then we have understanding. So here we need to cultivate a culture of empathy, patience, and awareness that can transform our workplace climate. It's important. Here we're talking about empathy, patience, and awareness. Not, as the Maltese saying says, oh, miskin, I'm going to pity him. Neither. Neurodivergents do not need to be pitied because when well equipped and when understood, they're actually people that you can enjoy spending time with. They just have different wiring in their brain that unfortunately makes them act in certain different ways, like maybe needing to stay alone for a bit. But let's be honest, I'm sure everyone on this webinar, neurodivergent or not, has wanted that time of peace and quiet for themselves. So at the end of the day, it's something normal. It's just something that neurodivergent individuals happen to may require a bit more of. Then you have your support systems. So here we're talking about implementing structured support, such as mentorship programs, peer support networks, and these can create a scaffolding for success. Now let's explore how these systems can actually be integrated in our current practices. Actually, before that, let's talk about inclusive hiring. So here we're talking about more than opening doors. So it's not someone who comes to the office and you just open the door for them. It's about welcoming diverse minds and recognizing their value from the outset. And again, we'll look at how inclusive recruitment methods can and criteria can shape into value. And now let's, can be shaped to value those neurodivergent talents. And let's take a look at the essential elements that actually constitute neuroinclusive policies. So when it comes to flexibility, successful companies like Microsoft have shown that adapting work schedules and tasks can actually lead, again, to better productivity and employee satisfaction. I will refer to their autism hiring program again. It customizes the recruitment process and provides flexible work environments for individuals on the spectrum. Unfortunately, it so happens that certain people on the spectrum, especially if they have conditions, so it is actually possible not to just have one condition, but to have two conditions, so ADHD, for example, and autism. And because of such conditions, some people, or because they were underdiagnosed and only found out later in life, for some reason or other, they did not, they were not able to actually get qualifications at school. They did not go to university, but yet they have found their area where they happen to have a hyper focus on. They taught themselves, and because of that hyper focus, because of the fact that they probably will see things, certain details, understand certain details that neurotypical people, so these are people who are not neurodivergent, may not see. So that is why we're saying it is important here to be as flexible as possible, even with your recruitment process. Now, I do understand that certain jobs require qualifications, require you to get a warrant, for example, and I'm not saying that people who are neurodivergent should not follow that process. I discovered 3-4 days ago, we actually have a practicing doctor in Malta who is autistic. And that is actually great to see, because this is something I thought I would see just on Netflix, on The Good Doctor. But actually, it so happens that we have an autistic female doctor in Malta, and it is great to find this stuff out. Moving on to understanding a culture of empathy. Here is paramount, and organizations like Google have launched what is called GPAWS, which is a mindfulness program that fosters empathy and patience and directly supports neurodivergent individuals to thrive in their roles. Then you have your support systems. So peer support and specialized resources here are key. And Salesforce's Ability Force is an excellent example providing mentorship and creating networks for employees with disabilities, including neurodivergent individuals. And then you have your inclusive hiring. So utilizing diverse recruitment methods is essential, and here Ernst & Young's Neurodiversity Centers of Excellence don't just value neurodivergent talent, they actively seek it out, offering alternative interview formats and support mechanisms to integrate neurodiverse individuals into workforce seamlessly. And this is great to see. Out there, you have a lot of big companies that are leading by example. Now it's up for us to start following. Basically, these real-life applications should showcase how neuro-inclusive policies are not just theories, but actually actionable strategies that drive inclusivity and innovation. And the next part that I wished to dive into was support systems and reasonable accommodations. And here we're talking, what are we saying here? That support systems and reasonable accommodations are actually pivotal in fostering a workplace where neurodivergent employees can excel. So you're identifying needs. You identifying needs is not just that initial step. It's basically a continuous conversation that demands attention to each person's unique challenges and preferences. Then you have your tailored accommodations, which are a direct response to these identified needs. So whether it's adapting work schedules, whether it's designing quiet areas, whether it's integrating assistive technologies, these modifications are about removing barriers and enhancing productivity. Then you have the ongoing education about neurodiversity for all staff members. This isn't just a one-time event. It's actually an investment in creating a deeply inclusive culture where understanding and empathy are woven into the fabric of our everyday interactions. Lastly, the concept of continuous feedback is about keeping these conversations open. It's about reassessing and refining our support systems to meet evolving needs, ensuring that the strategies that we implement are both effective and empowering. And again, here I wanted to dive into more real-world examples because it is only through these real-life examples that I was going to be able to help you to understand better, how these are actually working. These mechanisms are all working. So again, if I look at Microsoft's autism hiring program, which is not just about recruitment, basically it extends to personalized support, including mentors, career development plans tailored to individual learning styles and needs. Then you have, again, Ernst & Young's Neurodiversity Centers of Excellence, which their model showcases how a supportive environment with adjustments such as noise cancelling headphones and visual project schedules can turn potential challenges into exceptional performance. Then moving on to, again, SAP's Autism at Work program, which highlights the importance of training and awareness, providing not only specific role-based training for neurodivergent employees, but also fostering a company-wide understanding of neurodiversity. So basically, they're hitting two birds with one stone. They're teaching the neurodivergent, because sometimes the neurodivergent, especially someone with autism, may not know how to, I don't know, may not know how to perform in certain scenarios. Maybe they have not been taught. Maybe their job, and that is why a job coach comes into handy. It does not mean that this person is in any way not smart or anything. We're just saying that there happens to be a particular situation which this person does not get, and they need to be taught further. And what are SAP doing? They're actually getting their neurotypicals to act into this scenario so that they help the neurodivergent to understand better. So you're teaching the neurodivergent, and at the same time, you are giving time for the neurotypical person to try understand better the neurodivergent individual. And next, I wanted to dive into actually creating a neuro-inclusive culture that basically goes beyond policies. So here we're talking about cultivating an environment where every single employee feels valued and supported. And let's break this down. Let's break down the essential components of this. So first, an inclusive policy development is all about more than just putting, pen to paper. It involves crafting policies that aren't just inclusive in language, but also in action. So here we're saying it's not just about being politically correct verbally, but it's actually about putting putting actions for one to be able to take. So supporting diversity and inclusion at every level. What is this going to do? It is going to support inclusion, diversity and inclusion at every level of the organization. Now, when we talk about diverse recruitment, here we're recognizing that neurodivergent individuals bring unique perspectives that can drive innovation. It's about broadening our hiring practices to welcome these valuable insights. Then you have your education and training, which for all employees, which is essential for all employees on neurodiversity and inclusivity. Regular sessions basically not only build that understanding, but they also ensure that everyone is on the same page. And by fostering a culture of empathy and patience, you are able to create that inclusivity. Then you have employee resource groups, and these are also very vital. Basically, they provide a platform for neurodivergent employees to share their experiences and contribute to workplace strategies. So here, what are we saying? That, maybe sit down with your neurodivergent employees and actually see, from time to time, not by just asking them to fill in a questionnaire, but actually taking it further, getting them down, sitting them down on a table, asking them how they would do certain things. Also, again, this is something that fosters inclusivity. And this is not a way of actually someone, giving a neurodivergent the chance for someone to take your job. But for example, as a manager, because knowingly neurodivergents can think differently and very creatively, it is good sometimes when you have the chance. It's a form of mentorship here that we're talking about, that you give the opportunity, for example, for a neurodivergent person within your team to actually see what decisions they may take, what they may implement. And here now we're not just talking about policies and stuff. Here we're talking about their everyday work. Because, believe it or not, these people may surprise you. These people may surprise you because of the way that they are able to think outside the box, and their agility in thinking. And then, lastly, it brings me to inclusivity audits. And inclusivity audits are a proactive approach to basically ensuring that these efforts are more than just performative. So by regularly assessing our culture and practices, we can make informed adjustments, continually steering forward towards a truly inclusive workplace. Now, I wanted to open the floor because of the fact that this is such, an innovative thing, I would say, in Malta. But now, basically, I would like to open the floor for any questions that you may have. So basically, I would like you to take this opportunity so that either you share any experiences of any neurodivergent individuals that you may have yourselves share with us, or for us to discuss any hurdles that you may be facing, or maybe there's some valuable feedback that I can offer, or maybe there's actually someone amongst us that has some valuable feedback for us. So do please go ahead, whether you want to just add it in the chat, go ahead. And in the meantime, I'm going to launch to start off with a bit of a quiz, a bit of a fun quiz. We're not testing you here. I'm not going to call anyone out. I have no idea. As in, I can see the answers. I can see how many people have answered, for example, myth or fact, but I can't see that X has answered myth or X has answered fact. I do encourage you to, go through these questions. It is interesting to see, your knowledge of neurodiversity. It is also great to see, because for us, it will help you understand how well I've been able to relay the information to you. So the first question is, neurodivergent individuals often struggle with social interactions because they prefer to be alone. Is this myth or fact? I see that actually only 2 people got this right. Neurodiversity only refers to autism. Is it myth or fact? Myth. Employers can benefit from hiring neurodivergent because of their unique perspectives and skills. Myth or fact? Fact. All neurodivergent individuals have the same needs and require the same accommodations. Myth or fact? Myth. Well done. And neurodivergent individuals cannot succeed in leadership roles. Actually, that is quite a myth. I myself will give you an example of how empathetic and how a neurodivergent individual can be. And this was before I even discovered I was neurodivergent. So before one of my roles at one point was team lead of the email marketing department at a company called Hornet Security, actually previously known as Altaro. A Maltese success story that was bought over by the biggest security company in Europe. So basically, I was team lead for the email marketing team. Basically, an individual joined the team from university, a fresh graduate with a master's in digital marketing, who did a fair share of email marketing. But when it came to, real life practice, unfortunately, the person was very green. I took time out of my already super busy schedule because at the same time we were transitioning from one platform to another, email platform to another. I took time, put together a 6-week crash course for this individual, and I sat down with him an hour a week so that I could teach him email marketing again in ways and using practical examples and giving him practical examples for him to then, practice within the workplace. And within 6 weeks, I got someone who had no idea, honestly, had no idea what email marketing was, even although they hit the send button a number of times when they were doing their internship. I won't say this guy became an expert, but this guy was able to start handling email marketing campaigns on their own, obviously up to a certain point and with a degree of mentorship. But, there wasn't even the need for anyone within the office to ask me, listen, train this person. I automatically took it upon myself. Listen, I want to see everyone succeed, so I am going to equip my team. I was not scared that this person was going to go and take my job. At the end of the day, soon after I resigned, he became a junior email marketing manager. It's actually great to see. So that is one example how actually a neurodivergent individual can actually provide help to other employees. Another benefit that comes with neurodivergent individuals is, for example, certain individuals who are autistic, to understand something, need, examples, real life examples, so that they can picture the whole thing and piece it together. Because of that, whenever they are explaining something, they are going to explain something with certain examples that is going to be clear for everyone straight away, because they automatically know that they need to explain something with examples because it is going to help, because it helps them. It is something that is hardwired in them. Now, I wanted to go a bit through I've seen some feedback come in. So Jackie's saying a lot of my experience has been with employees who seem to be neurodivergent but do not acknowledge this or have never been diagnosed. In this case, it's very difficult for the employer to do anything in these cases. Is there any perspective? Yes. So there are even courses offered in Malta on recognizing neurodivergent talent and not calling out that neurodivergent talent, not actually going up to someone and telling them, hey, you may be autistic, go check yourself out. But rather using that knowledge to actually assist them to perform better. So what's going to happen here? You start to learn more about ADHD, for example, and how one can, for example, make tasks more interesting, especially mundane tasks, because when a task is, no matter how simple it is, it could be copy and paste. But because it is copy and paste for 20 times, and it is something which is not exciting, my mind, my ADHD mind is going to say, I'm sorry, I am not going to physically let you do that. Now, yes, there is medication when you are diagnosed that one can take. For example, I'm on stimulants. I take my stimulants, I sit down and I'm able to focus. Even then yet, I need my own strategies to help me focus sometimes because with medication, yes, they work, but they don't always, there are always some other underlying conditions, like there may be someone shouting at the other end of the office that is still distractive. But then that is up to us neurodivergents to work with. But, one way of doing so is, for example, if you see that someone may not be understanding social cues, you find a nice way maybe to sit them down and take time to explain to them. Maybe, but without pointing out though, without telling them, hey, look, listen, when the manager comes into the office, you need to look at them. Now, one needs to understand that people with autism, people with ADHD are not able to look into the eyes of someone that is speaking to them. Why? Because I will tell you exactly what's going into our heads. As you are trying to speak to me, I'm going to start saying, which eye do I need to look into? Do I need to concentrate on? Then I start seeing your eye move, and that is a distraction. And in the meantime, I have not heard anything from the conversation. And I'm going to, if, I'm not someone who masks, I will come back and tell you, sorry, can you repeat? Just, give them practical examples that may help them. So, for example, listen, when the manager is in the room, maybe we don't need to look at him, but he's not very keen, for example, or they're not very keen when you are typing away at your laptop. So I suggest that you stop typing at your laptop, and if you need to take any notes, maybe take them, write them down. And that is one way of pointing out to a neurodivergent individual without having pointed it out. As I said, there are other ways. For example, you realize someone may have ADHD. So whatever boring, mundane tasks that there are, you actually make it fun, maybe even turn it into a game. Listen, if you finish this Excel report in an hour, maybe it usually takes them an hour and 15 minutes. In an hour, I don't know, jokingly, the next coffee is on me. I will go make your next coffee. That kind of stuff, fun and games. Because what are you doing there? You are helping the neurodivergent individual. Another example, people with ADHD hyperfocus. So they may actually be sat at their computer 8 hours later and they have forgotten to eat, to go to the bathroom or anything. If you're very close with that person, You may just go up to them and tell them, hey, listen, I noticed you've been sitting on your computer for the past 8 hours. Have you taken any breaks? Have you, stopped to take anything to drink? Would you like me to go get you a drink of water or something to eat? You just don't know how helpful that can be. Because that shows understanding. And once you're showing that understanding, suddenly, if they are diagnosed, they may say, these people are accepting of me, so I may be ready to actually share my experience. But yes, unfortunately, still get a lot of people who are undiagnosed. This is an unfortunate thing. It is an unfortunate thing because awareness on such a subject wasn't as big as it is these days. Before, we only thought that only kids could be neurodivergent, could be autistic, could be dyslexic, whatnot. Now we're finding out that, adults too. Now we're also finding out that women too can be neurodivergent, unlike the myths that used to come out before. So obviously you're going to now see also an increase in probably diagnosis. But, that is good because that means that there is more need and more call for inclusivity. Hopefully, I've answered your question like that, Jackie. Myra is telling us, hi, I'd be
Thanks,
happy.
Andrew.
You're welcome. I wonder if personally find it easy to spot credit, but not sure what the viewpoint is on classifying someone as such since they wouldn't have been diagnosed. How is your something I wanted to actually add on this is that one thing you can possibly do, again, tread carefully, and I tell you, tread carefully because of, unfortunately, the stigma that we follow. But if your company, you have an HR manager that, is willing to listen, you may actually go to the HR manager, maybe point it out to them, maybe tell them, listen, I have noticed that this person does certain things which may be indicative of a certain neurodiversity. I am letting you know in case you want to help this individual. Maybe the HR manager is actually already trained on such a thing. So yes, definitely something that one can do. So yes, Jackie, we will definitely. So after this webinar, I will be sharing the recording and actually some resources, policy examples and stuff like that can be very useful. We are building a hub, a website where even employers would be able to go in and find various resources to help them when it comes to neurodiversity inclusion. Before I moved on to the next and final bit, I wanted to go through this, a bit of an example. Again, I would like to see what you would come up with. So imagine you are a manager at a software development company. Alex, a highly skilled programmer who is on the autism spectrum, has just joined your team. Alex has mentioned facing challenges with the open office layout, which is noisy and has a lot of visual distractions, impacting their concentration and productivity. Which of the following accommodations would you consider to support Alex's work environment needs? And basically select any that you feel apply. And once you're doing that, basically, if we reflect a bit on our journey today, we can see that we've embraced the vital impact of neuroinclusivity in cultivating a supportive and thriving workplace. Basically, our discussions have underscored the importance of flexible policies that honor the unique needs and strengths of each employee. We dove into fostering a culture rich in empathy and understanding, and we considered inclusive hiring practices that enhance organizational diversity and that drive innovation. Now, as we move forward, where possible, I would like us to try commit to the principle of continuous improvement, regularly refining, our practices to ensure that our workplaces are truly welcoming to neurodivergent individuals. This is not the end, but actually a continuing conversation for growth and learning. MISCO actually is embarking on a very, very, very exciting project where we are launching a certification which is being put together with various NGOs, with various authorities within the business sector, where companies can adopt to become or show that they are neuroinclusive, and this comes with a bunch of benefits because adopting this program basically would give you certain training that would be done for your employees, certain assistance with finding funding, EU funding to implement certain things. So yes, do keep your eyes open. There is an exciting journey ahead. There are also some training programs that will be launched soon as well with regards to neurodiversity for neurodivergent individuals, and what I was mentioning on recognizing neurodivergent talent and how to actually work with it. So thank you very much for your commitment and for your time. And I hope to see you at more stuff that we do about neurodiversity and inclusivity. I wish you a great weekend, and thank you very much for your time.